This land is your land, this land is my land, except Mary Turnipseed of Duke University's Marine Lab is suggesting that it stretches 200 miles out to sea on the Pacific Ocean side, which is where we're looking now, to 200 miles outside of US land on the Atlantic side as well. Mary, thank you for talking with me. Would you tell me what you mean by public trust? And tell me what you think that means for management of the oceans.
Sure. So the public trust doctrine is this American law. It exists in all 50 states. Each state has its own version. And what it means is that the state governments have to manage these certain natural resources for the benefit of their citizens. When the U.S. extended its authority over ocean waters out to the full 200 miles that constitute the exclusive economic zone, it never implemented those same public trust responsibilities in that space.
Can I interrupt you a second? When did that happen?
That happened in 1983.
So it's relatively recently. This is, as
we just celebrated the silver anniversary of our exclusive economic zone. The 25th year, yes. Yeah, so it's a very recent change in ocean governance and in ocean jurisdiction. And this really fundamental law was never applied out there. And what that's done is I think it's hampered the ability of U.S. citizens to engage in the management of the resources, living and non-living resources that are in that ocean space.
As you know, I care most particularly about biodiversity, and it's clear that there are major losses going on in the ocean, that many of the fish stocks around our coastline are massively depleted. And as a citizen, I feel that I have lost something by those losses. So I think you're telling me that like other citizens, we now, or maybe should, have some recourse, that there may be some ways in which we can say these fish belong to all of us, not just the people who go hunting them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this wasn't some devious plan by the federal government to not enable citizens to express their interest in what happens to biodiversity in the oceans that the U.S. has control over. What it was is just for so long we thought the seas were boundless, and we've managed them within that perspective, under that framework, under that conceptual map, that we couldn't really have that great of an impact on our oceans. And in fact, when we formed our EEZ, a lot of the movement in the country was towards expanding our fisheries once we kicked out foreign fleets. So expanding our fisheries to better utilize, to better exploit those resources. But so now we've realized that we're having these really dire impacts on ocean ecosystems. We're documenting like really extreme depletions in some large predatory fish, but we're also seeing these changes, these phase shifts in ecosystems from one state to another. I mean, really drastic changes are happening in our oceans.
For the benefit of my non-technical audience, can you tell me what you mean by this, these phase shifts, these big changes?
Yeah, so a phase shift, for example, the change from the cod-dominated ecosystem off of Massachusetts and Canada to a lobster-dominated ecosystem. We've pretty much stop fishing cod, but it's not coming back. And that's an example of a phase shift. When the ecosystem, once you relieve the pressure off of it, when it doesn't return to that prior state. So all of this is what motivated this study about that my co-authors and I have done about the public trust doctrine, and to try and figure out kind of really fundamental but also tractable ways to improve ocean governance in this country.
So let me ask you two quick questions. What do these changes mean to you personally?
I mean, we're all using this very advanced jargon to talk about these complicated planning mechanisms and strategies for how we can use our oceans. But the fact is, I think, is that at the end of the day, everyone in that room just loves going to the ocean, and loves diving, and loves fishing, and loves surfing. and love seeing ocean animals leap out of the water. I mean, at the end of the day, we truly value what's out there and want to see it persist.
Mary, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Stuart.